Hello, all. I know this might be a short one. I have a sore throat, so we'll have to see how this goes. Let's see. Okay. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Oh. All right. I can't remember. Yeah, we're in the middle of a chapter. I remember now. Okay, good. We'll give it a couple minutes. I need to plug in the computer. All right. I've had an interesting day. I almost didn't make it. Okay. Oh, I need my other glasses. Hang on, I gotta mute my mic. Hey, Irish Mart. Hang on just a second. I left my computer glasses in the bedroom because I had the computer in there. Hi, Irish. Hi, Cricket. Yeah, I almost didn't make it. The police just left my house. Because I'm this horrible, evil person.
And with these?
Yes, those. We have a small town, so that was interesting. Yeah, I was running pretty late. How's everybody doing this weekend? Too early for this chat. I get it. I know. I think I get the tune. That's funny. Hey, no face. Can you guys hear me okay and all that? Just let me know because it's still a fairly new computer. I have the light on over here, so it's not so shadowy over here. But yeah, I bought that. You guys remember I bought that webcam or computer cam, and it was glitchy. So I was hoping this new computer had a better camera. The one thing I heard about this, which I hope is true, but I can't even test it today, is it said it had a noise canceling mic. And, I used to have the air conditioner or the fan running. Well, I don't have anything running today. It's like super quiet in here. It's weird. Matter of fact, it was so quiet last night that Tom called me and the ringer scared the crap out of me. Hey, Brian, look. I haven't read. I need to get it out and read it. I was finishing another book first. Yeah, Brian's on. The guy that wrote this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Cool.
You telling you almost went to jail?
No, I kind of said the police just left my house, but I didn't tell them why yet. Because, oh, that's okay. So, just to make it quick, I get Walmart delivery because I'm handicapped. I have an implant in my back. I have fibromyalgia, which makes me weak, and I have a cane. So, I normally, and our driveway and walkway to the porch is pretty long. And our driveway is still gravel. So, it's uneven. So, I never do a delivery after dark because I don't want somebody falling on their butt. Well, today I need distilled water for my ice maker. Normally I only order 3 jugs, but I'm like, you know what? I've been running out too fast. So I ordered 6 jugs of water, a case of water, 4 jugs of cold brew coffee, and then the rest of my groceries. So I put in the driver instructions, call me at this number. I will bring out my wagon. Well, I didn't even know she was here. I went to I wasn't watching the clock, and I noticed her car out there. So I go out and I have to open the wagon, get the piece from the car, and I go out to help her out. And I said, "Oh, just put all the water in here." And when she was done, I said, "I need you to take it to..." Now, she had already taken groceries to the porch when I came out. So it wasn't like all the groceries were in there. And she's like, "I don't speak English." And so she uses the translator. And she asked me what I want. And I said, "I need you to come with me to unload this and pull the cart probably, because it's heavy now." And she did back, "No, you're already here. I don't have to." And I got upset. And I was showing her my cane. I showed her the handicap plate on my truck. I told her, "I need help. You've already done this. My husband's asleep during the day. There's no way. I'm probably not going to be able to get the cart to the thing and everything." And I'm upset. I'm being loud. But I'm in my driveway about 15 feet away. And she just won't leave. And I'm like, so I come in and I get Tom and come back out thinking she's going to be gone. She's not. She's on her phone. And I'm like, this is what I get for being nice. And I'm done, y'all. I'm done. I'm not going to try to rant too much. But I'm like, every time I try to be nice, somehow I get screwed. And I don't know. After 55 years of it, I'm getting tired of it. And I tip really well too. It's only Walmart's only, I'm not going to say, but it's close. And so it doesn't take them very much gas to get here, but I still trip because I've been a pizza delivery driver. But I'm like, she was young, healthy. I'm out there with my cane and she's telling me no. She called 911. I'm like, why are you still here? When the cops showed up, I said, why is she still even here? The groceries are in the cart or on the porch. I'm just telling her, look, I said, you're telling me no when, and they came up and I'm just like, the whole time she's talking on her phone, talking Spanish. They take the phone and talk to whoever's on the phone. So I don't know what was going on. And I'm like, first of all, it wasn't 911 worthy. She could have just left. Instead, she stayed. So I'm just like, that's what I told him too. I said, she's out here on a public street on the other side of the car. I'm in my driveway. She had every chance to just get in her car and leave, but she stayed. And I'm like, so I've got the number to the delivery company. I tried to call Walmart to talk to a manager, but it's Sunday, so nobody's there. Because I'm going to file a complaint. Because if I hadn't gone out there to help, she would have had to lug all of that stuff to my porch. And I was giving her a $15 tip, putting everything in the cart and helping. Normally, I would have gave like 20 or 25, but I never order 6 jugs of water. I would have never done that without helping with the wagon. I would never make somebody do that. So yeah, I go out and I try to be nice with the wagon and help her with all the heavy stuff. And because I've seen drivers who have wagons and it's smart. I love my wagon because I have to walk. When I go protest, y'all, I walk there and back. It's about 4 blocks. And, all the stuff that I take. So I'll talk to you more about it later, Scooter Mom. So Tom Cruise prank called you and asked if your refrigerator is running. Thank God for noise canceling. Oh my goodness. Oh, hi, Never In. I'm surprised I get people that was on my late night chat in here because, we were up late. That's fine. Let them lug. I know. Let them lug it all. That's what my husband said because I had to wake my husband up. That was the reason I needed help. My husband sleeps during the day. He works at night. So I'm just like, and I said that to the police. I'm like, I have an implant in my back. I'm standing there with a cane in my slippers. I pointed to my handicap plate for her, and everybody knows what that means. And I told the cops, I'm like, first of all, I told them what happened. And I was upset. I was young. I didn't curse. I was way into my driveway. I didn't stay near her car. And she could have left at any time. I told her, I said, this is ridiculous. You told me no when I'm just stating the facts to her, but I'm loud. I said, you've already put groceries on the porch. She's like, no. I'm like, okay. I'm not going to rant too much. I want to, but I won't. Because that's not what this is for. All right, I need to get started, y'all. Now, we were in the middle of... I always try to look. I keep thinking we're close to the end. I'm like, but we're not. I wonder, you know what, you guys? I don't know how you feel about it. But if it's getting to be too tedious or not. If it is, let me know. If I can... Because we're getting down to, I don't know, kind of, I think I could actually skip some of this. Because, he has so many examples. Like, but then I go and I look at it, I think, well, maybe I can get rid of this. But then there's something in it that maybe we need to know to understand what he's talking about. So I'm just going to keep going. This is a very long chapter. So, like I said, I'm only going to go... Oh, no. We can finish this. We'll just finish this chapter. And that way we'll just start a new chapter next Sunday. Let's see. Where's the end? Because then the next chapter, we're in Mechanism and Aspects of Therapy, Part 1. And then we have coming up the same thing, Part 2. So, hi, AA. Yeah, I slept pretty good. I really did, actually. And you know what? It was another night I fell asleep. I don't even remember when I fell asleep. I fell asleep watching something. And I woke up and took my glasses off. And I never do that. I always have to make a big deal out of going, like, turning on this. I do 432 megahertz or frequency on YouTube. And it's supposed to help with healing and stuff. And it always helps me sleep. I usually have to do that, turn everything off. I didn't even turn the light off. So, all right. I think we're starting at the junior case. It's like really short. It's probably just an example. So we were talking about find the engram to which it attached itself, for there is an engram immediately with it. In dreams, these locks in distorted form come swimming out of the bank, complicating the dream. That was the last paragraph we read. So this is called the junior case. Do not take on a junior for your... Oh, no, we read this. We read that. He means like George Jr. because the names are similar. And so things this person have heard, maybe their mom talk to their dad and say, oh, George this, oh, George that. Supposedly they're going to take on those engrams too because they think it's them in their subconscious. That's okay, Scooter Mom. So we did read that. So we're at restimulating the engram, and we know it's restimulating trauma. Ask often enough and you will receive is always true when working the engram bank. Simply by returning into an area enough times, engrams will appear. If it is not there today, it will be there tomorrow. But if it is not there tomorrow, it will be there the day after, and so forth. And you know what, guys? I forgot I was... give me just a second. Dianetics book online. I did this on, I think, on my other computer. Remember, I was reading from this thing that I found, but I don't. Is this it? No, that's a PDF. It wasn't a PDF that I was using. Give me just a second. I saved it on my other computer. Oh. If I can't find it, I'll just not take too much time. Darn it. It was one of the first things that came up when I was looking for it. Dianetics book online. Man, I found it really easy last time. Now it's all, if it's a PDF, I can't read it with you guys. It's too small. I can't find it. All right, we'll just have to go back to what we're doing then. All right. I did like being able to read it while you guys could read it too. I'll find it later on and we'll have it for next week. All right. Occluded life periods and people. Whole areas of the time track will be found occluded. These contain suppressors by way of engram command, ally computations, and painful emotion. Persons can vanish utterly from sight for these reasons. They come to view after a few engrams have been lifted in basic, or the area has been developed as above. Kind of not understanding that. These suppressors by way of engram command, allies and painful emotion. Persons can vanish utterly. I guess allies or a painful are hidden. Animosity toward parents. Who doesn't have that sometimes? It always happens when one clears a child or adult, that the pre-clear goes through stages of improvement which bring him up the tone scale and cause him, of course, to pass through the second zone, anger. A pre-clear may become furious with his parents and other offenders in the engram bank. Such a situation is to be expected. It is a natural byproduct of therapy, and it cannot be avoided. As the case progresses, the tone level, of course, rises and places the pre-clear in a state of boredom toward the villains who have wronged him. As the case progresses, the tone level, of course, rises, places the pre-clear in a state of boredom towards the villains who have wronged him. Okay, I get it. At last he reaches tone 4, which is the tone of the clear. At this time, he is very cheerful and willing to be friends with people, whether they have wronged him or not. Of course, he has the data about what to expect of them, but he nurses no animosity. Well, that's nice if you can do that. Excuse me. I can be like that myself to a point, like I said. Today, I just had it, you know? I even said that. I'm like to them, I was like, I've been nice and kind and try to do the right thing for 55 years. And so anyway. So being able to get along with people that have wronged you is very hard sometimes. Okay. If a parent feels that the child, knowing all, would turn against him, then the parent is mistaken. The child has already, as an aberree, turned very thoroughly against the parent, whether his analyzer knows all or not, and the most uncertain and unlovely conduct may result from further hiding of the evidence. It is a matter of continual observation that the good release and the clear feel no animosity whatever toward their parents or others who had caused their aberrations, and indeed stop negating, defending, and fighting so irrationally. The clear will fight, certainly, for a good cause, and he will be the most dangerous opponent possible, but he does not fight for irrational reasons like an animal, and his understanding of people is very much enlarged, and his affection can at last be deep. If a parent wishes love and cooperation from a child, no matter what he has done to that child, permit therapy and achieve that love and cooperation with the child, self-determined and no longer secretly in apathy or rage. After all, the clear has learned the source of his parents' aberrations as well as his own. He recognizes that they had engram banks before he did. Now, this reminds me, it's called mechanism and aspects of therapy. So I see this correlating with regular therapy myself. Excuse me. So some of it, like I've said before, some of the things that he talks about and wants to accomplish in this is what you want to accomplish in regular psychiatry therapy. I don't know how to say that exactly, but you know what I mean. You want to be able to overcome problems you've had, especially with relatives or parents, and come to a place where you cannot feel that animosity anymore. So, like I said, there are parts of this book that make sense. He obviously understood therapy and tried to correlate it as much as possible, but we know that he added a lot of his own stuff to it. Okay. I don't even know if I can pronounce this. Propitiation. Can you read that? I don't know what that word is. And he doesn't have a thing at the bottom. Propitiation. In the process of work, a stage will be passed in the upper range of apathy of propitiation. Propitiation. This conciliation is an effort to feed or sacrifice to an all-destructive force. It is a state wherein the patient, in deep fear of another, offers expensive presents in soft words, turns the other cheek, offers himself as a doormat, and generally makes a fool out of himself. Many, many marriages, for instance, are marriages not of love, but of that shabby substitute, propitiation. Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So this is what AA said it means. Propitiation. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Perhaps have a habit of marrying people who have similar reactive minds. This is unfortunate, for such marriages are destructive to both partners. She has a certain set of aberrations. They match his. She is pseudo-mother. He is pseudo-father. She had to marry him because father tried to murder her before she was born. Here we go again. He had to marry her because mother beat him when he was a child. Incredible as it may seem, these marriages are very common. One or the other partner becomes mentally ill, or both may deteriorate. He is unhappy, his enthusiasms crushed, she is miserable. Either with another partner might be happy person, yet out of fear they cannot break apart. They must propitiate each other. The auditor who finds a marriage in this condition and attempts to treat one of the partners had better treat both simultaneously, or such partners had better treat each other, and soon. Tolerance and understanding are almost always fostered by mutual help. Propitiation is mentioned here because it has a diagnostic value. People who start bringing the auditor expensive gifts are propitiating him, and it probably means that they have a computation which tells them engrammically that they will die or go crazy if they become sane. The auditor may enjoy the gifts, but he had better start looking for a sympathy engram not yet suspected or tapped. I didn't think you were allowed to give your auditor gifts or those kind of things. Like codependence. Yep. Exactly right. Yeah. Yep. So, like I said, I mean, this does happen. I don't know as much as he thinks it does or for the reasons that he's said, but yeah, it can totally happen. Love. Probably no single subject in the concerns of man has received as much attention as love. It is not untrue that where one finds the greatest controversy, there he will also find the least comprehension. And where the facts are least precise, there one can also find the greatest arguments. And so it is with love. Oh, that's period. And so it is with love. Without doubt, love has ruined more lives than war and made more happiness than all the dreams of paradise. Yeah, that's true. That is a true statement. Entangled with 1,000 songs a year and submerged beneath a solid tonnage of poor literature, love should have a proper chance to be defined. It has been discovered that there are 3 kinds of love between woman and man. The first is covered under the law of affinity, and is the affection with which mankind holds mankind. The second is sexual selection and is a true magnetism between partners. The third is compulsive love, dictated by nothing more reasonable than aberration. Okay. Perhaps in the hero and heroine legends there have been cases of the second kind, and surely as one looks about him in this society, he can discover numbers of happy partnerships based on a natural and strongly affectionate admiration. The third kind we find in plenty. Tabloid literature is devoted to it and its travails. It crams the courts with urgent pleas for divorce, with criminal acts and civil suits. It sends children weeping into the corner away from quarrels, and it launches from its broken homes broken young women and men. Yeah, that's true. Dianetics classifies this kind of love as reactive mind partnership. Here is a meeting of minds, but the minds are on the lowest computational level possessed by man. Driven together by compulsion, men and women mate who will find in that mating nothing but sorrow and reduction of their hopes. My daughter needs to read this. She tends to stay with somebody that's a lot of drama instead of seeing the red flags. That's all I'm going to say. It's happening right now. And I don't know how to show her that she shouldn't be doing that. He is pseudo-brother who beat her regularly, or he is pseudo-father whom she had to mind. Maybe he is even pseudo-mother who screamed ceaselessly at her, but whom she had to placate, and he might be the doctor who hurt her so savagely. She may be his pseudo-mother, his pseudo-grandmother, whom he had to love despite the way she undermined his decision. She may be a pseudo-nurse in some operation long gone, or the pseudo-teacher who kept him after school to whet her sadism upon him. To whet her sadism upon him. Before the marriage takes place, they only know there is a compulsion that they must be together, a feeling that each must be extremely nice to the other, and then the marriage takes place, and more restimulation of ancient pain is felt until the last each is ill and life complicated now, perhaps by unhappy children, is an unhappy ruin. I think I'm going to read this page to my daughter. It actually makes some sense in a way. I mean, I think he got a lot of this. Like I said, I've never read Freud, but it sounds like, because this was written pretty far back before, therapy was really good. But the pseudo mother, pseudo father, I think that may come from the Freudian stuff that I need to read up on Freud. At least an overview. I mean, I know the gist. Yeah, I probably could. But I mean, just that one page though. I mean, I did the opposite. I found somebody the opposite of my mother and father. So, thank goodness. Let's see, where were we? The mechanism of propitiation carries with it covert hostility. Gifts given without cause and beyond the ability to expend, self-sacrifices which seemed so noble at the time, compose propitiation. Propitiation is an apathy effort to hold away a dangerous source of pain. Mistaken identity is one of the minor errors of the reactive mind. To buy off, to nullify, to possible anger of a person perhaps long since dead, but living now again in the partner, is the hope of propitiation. But a man is dead who will not sometimes fight. The hostility may be masked. It may be entirely unknown to the individual who indulges it. Certainly, it is always justified in the mind of the person who exerts it and is supposed to be a natural consequence of some entirely obvious offense. The wife who makes inadvertent blunders before the guests and by them accidentally gives away the truth of her husband's favorite myth. The wife who forgets the little favors he has asked. The wife who suddenly stabs him with a logical pin in the region of his hopes. These are wives who live with partners whom they must, out of some wrong done years before the courtship and by some other man, propitiate. And these are wives who, propitiating, numb the hopes and misunderstand the sorrows of their mates. The husband who sleeps with another woman and accidentally leaves the lipstick on his tie. The husband who finds her excellent cooking bad and idleness in her days. The husband who forgets her letters he must mail. The husband who finds her opinions silly. These are husbands who live with partners whom they must propitiate. So he's making her propitiate. Is that what that means there? Because he's getting on her and he wants her to feel small is what I get there. A soaring roller coaster curve of peace and war in the home. Failures to understand mutual curtailment of liberty and self-determination. Unhappy lives, unhappy children, and divorce are caused by reactive mind marriages. Compelled by an unknown threat to marry, repelled by fear of pain from trust, this meeting of minds is the primary cause of all marital disaster. I just have to say, I mean, like I said, he gets things right sometimes, I think, because he was in psychiatric help for a while. Because I got to do a little more research, but there was 2 years that he said that he studied at an institution, but those people said no, he didn't. I think he was a patient. Oh, by the way, if you don't know, Friday I went to the Dallas org with my son who's going to school up there. And so we went in, I filmed it, but you can't see anything. You can only hear. And we watched the intro to the history of L. Ron Hubbard. And my son, who doesn't know very much about what I do, he knows why I do it, about the abuses and stuff. He was a Boy Scout and he was in the Navy. And when we came out and got in the car, he lost it he could tell just by watching it it was lies. And there was a point to this. I think I lost the point. Because in there it talked about he studied under these doctors, and that when he got out of the Navy, when he was in the Navy hospital, which we know he was in there as a patient, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him because he had so many complaints. In this intro, it said he used what he studied of the mind, that the medicine and treatment wasn't working until he unlocked their mind. And then it showed all these soldiers walking out of the hospital smiling because L. Ron Hubbard saved them. That's what it was. And I was like, so I think a lot of this he does understand, possibly just from being a patient himself, or, that kind of thing. Or maybe, and he may have studied and read some things, but he was asking the Navy for mental health help, and they didn't help him. And that's why he hates psychiatry. So at first he did want help, so he understood therapy to a point, that to know that he wanted it to help him. That's just what I was getting at, that he gets a lot of this from real therapy, and he either had to have studied it or been a patient to understand some of it. Okay. The law lacked definition, and so invoked great difficulty in the path of those involved in such marriages. The track of it is the dwindling spiral of misery which accompanies all chronic restimulation and leads only down to failure and to death. Someday there will, perhaps, exist a much more sentient law that only the unaberrated can marry and bear children. The present law only provides that marriages must be, at best, most difficult to part. Such a law is like a prison sentence for the husband and wife and the children, all and every one. Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, when I was reading his history, there was a little blurb there, but I didn't follow it to find out the whole story. So yeah, I do know that he did study, or he knew something about Freud and his studies, but from the friend. So I did know that. I just can't remember the names. Excuse me. I've been fighting a sore throat all week. Oh, by the way, I did an interview with my son when we got back to his hotel. He even said, you can interview me. I have things to say. So instead of being able to record while I was in there very well, we did an after interview with him. So go watch it. Hi, Susan. So I wanted to, something I thought about while I was reading this. So when I'm reading it, I'm thinking and trying to put myself in his shoes when he's writing this. And he said, an optimum solution would include this in any case, since it was most difficult for a wife or husband. Wait, that's not it. Where'd it go? Oh, the law. So he's saying, someday there will perhaps exist a much more sentient law that only the unaberrated can marry and bear children. And we all know he had bad marriages, several marriages. One, he just left and went and married somebody else and never got a divorce. So we know he probably doesn't have a very good opinion about marriage. Irish, was it you that said, is that your husband? I'm like, I'm not young enough. My son's 36. Their birthdays are both in January, so he's about to be 37. But he probably looks older with the beard. Yeah. But yeah, he's using up the rest of his GI Bill trying to get a good job. So that was an interesting part here, that he wants there to be a law that only unaberrated can marry and bear children. So he's saying, but he's saying like 99% of people have aberrations, because that's why Scientology exists, or Dianetics, to help everyone. So is he saying, as long as you have any mental illness, or you're not perfect, you can't get married, or you can't get married until he helps you? Kind of an interesting thought, I thought, for him to say. And that and then at present, the present law only provides that marriages must be at best most difficult to part. Such a law is like a prison sentence. So that's what he feels about marriage. So we can see why he never had a very high opinion of people getting married or having families. He just doesn't have that in him. A marriage can be saved by clearing its partners of their aberrations. An optimum solution would include this in any case, since it is most difficult for a wife or husband to rise, even when divorced, to any future plane of happiness. And where there are children, if clearing is not effected, a great injustice has been done. It is usually discovered that when both partners in a reactive mind marriage are cleared of aberration, life becomes considerably more than tolerable. For human beings often have a natural liking even when no sexual selection has been present. The restoration of a marriage by clearing the partners may not bring about one of the great loves that poets strummed about, but it will at least bring a high level of respect and cooperation toward the common goal of making life worthwhile. And in many marriages so cleared, it was discovered that the partners beneath the dirty cloth of aberration loved each other well. Well, that's a plus. At least he's saying if you go through this, maybe you'll have a better relationship. I don't know if that actually worked or not. You'll have to... Only those that have gone through it could tell us if this actually works. Did a judge sentence a person to jail and officiate their marriage on the same day? What's the difference? I get it. Yeah. Well, I didn't look at it that way when I got married. I knew it was going to be forever. I guess watching my mom. Now, I only saw her get divorced 3 times by the time I got married. But then she got married and divorced a 4th time. And she kept making the same mistake. Plus, she wasn't a great person. I feel bad for some of them. And my stepdad, he was a pretty decent guy. But he couldn't stand her anymore. Had to go. So I didn't want to go through that if possible. Or were we? A major gain to such a clearing is for the children's sake. Nearly all marital discontent has as its major factor aberration on the second dynamic, sex, and any such aberration includes a nervous disposition toward children. Where there are children, divorce does not answer, clearing does. And with clearing comes a fresh new page of life on which happiness can be written. Well, I'm not saying that you can't get something out of this, because he is following the way therapy should work. He's just his overboard stuff is that everybody is aberrated and that everybody got aberrations from the womb and things like that. So, but I mean, I could see how, there are things they might actually help. And that's why I understand, especially, back when mental health wasn't as talked about it is now. Even 15, 20 years ago, it was not dealt with like it is now. Now it's common. Everybody kind of understands it. Everybody knows there's help available. So I can see how, like I've said before, there are parts of what he's doing that had he stuck to that, he could have done some good. It's just he added too many other things and he wanted to be too much in control of people. And that's where he didn't do it right. He could have his name in the history books in a great way. But that's not what he didn't want to go that route. He was very aberrated himself, in his words. In the case of the reactive mind, marriage turnabout clearing is often complicated by the concealed hostilities which lie below the propitiative mechanism. It is wise for the partners to look outside the home, each interesting a friend in a therapy turnabout. If such mutual clearing is begun with the partners working on each other, much restraint of anger and exertion of patience must be practiced, and the auditor's code must be most severely followed. It requires a saintly detachment to bear the tone one of the partner who, returned to a quarrel, seasons the recountings with further recrimination. If it must be done, it can be done, but when many quarrels and travails have best beset a couple, it is easier if they each look without the home for a therapy partner. Additionally, there is a kind of rapport established between any auditor and pre-clear, and after the therapy session is done, a strengthening of the natural affinity is such that a small deed or word may be taken as a savage attack, with the result of a quarrel and inhibition of therapy. Okay. Men can be considered to be best audited by men and women by women. This condition is changed when one deals with a woman who has such severe aberrations about women that she is in fear around them, or when one is auditing a man who has a deep fear of men. The dynamics of men and women are somehow different, and a wife, particularly if there have ever been quarrels of any magnitude, sometimes finds it difficult at times to be sufficiently insistent to audit her husband. The husband may audit in the usual case without great difficulty, but when in therapy himself, his feeling that he must rise superior to the situation forces him to attempt auto control, a thing which is impossible. Something I was thinking while I was reading this, because what you said, AA. Yeah, I don't want to diminish the fact that anybody that went through this got some help. I'm sure, there's something that was in there that got you guys in and you felt like it would help you. And I can see glimmers here and there where, it really could probably help. Maybe it could have helped couples who are having problems to sit and talk to somebody, an auditor, whether how they're talking, using the words, the aberrations, the pre-clear, bar those words. This is very similar to therapy. They want you to get the memories out, deal with the memories or the traumas, and deal with them enough that it doesn't cause you pain all the time. Like I said, that can work. There has to be enough things that work to, for you to want to go and use it and do it and stay. If you left out all the manipulation, it could work. But All right, where were we? Okay, I think we're getting close to. And I thought I'm talking too much, you guys. I keep having these thoughts. Holy moly. Okay, well, I'm going to start reading a little bit faster. The erasure. Sooner or later, if you keep trying, you will get basic, the earliest moment of unconsciousness and physical pain. You will know when you have it, perhaps only because things start to erase rather than reduce. If the patient still has a sonic shutoff, you can still erase. Sooner or later, that sonic will turn on, perhaps not even until the case is almost finished. You will reach basic sooner or later. The erasure, if you don't remember, he just said it. The basic, from what I understand, is the very earliest memory you have in the womb, however far back. And that if you can get rid of all the bad trauma memories, engrams, all the way back to that first memory, then you're clear. If I said that right. Scared mom. Okay. The erasure then is more or less the same procedure as the entrance. You erase all the early engrams, always the earliest you can find, and you keep discharging painful emotion engrams either in the basic area or in the later periods after birth and later in life. You erase as much as you can find in the early part of the case. Then you release all the emotion you can find later in the case. Erase everything in each engram you touch. And then you come back and find early material. The reactive engram bank is a Haraz nest. State of utmost confusion. A mess. Okay. The reactive engram banks is a Haraz nest. So confusion. The file clerk must have a great deal of trouble with it. Pages are sticking. For things are keyed in early and late. Sometimes all he can get is material under certain topics. Sometimes all he can get is material under certain somatics. All teeth, for instance. Sometimes he can go in an orderly parade forward in time and give consecutive incidents. This last is the most important proceeding. Not until you have worked out every moment of physical pain and discharged all the moments of painful emotion will the case be cleared. There will be times when you are sure that you are almost to the goal, only to discover, going into the prenatal area again, a new series of material uncovered by the later life painful emotion you have released. One day you will find a case which will not have any occlusions anywhere on the track, which will no longer be interested in engrams. Apathy cases aren't interested at the start. Clears at the top level are not interested either, making a cycle, though the clear is a long way from apathetic, which will have all recalls, which will compute accurately and make no errors within the limitations of the data available, and which, in short, has an exhausted engram bank. But do not be too optimistic, ever. Keep looking until you are sure. Observe the case to make certain no aberrations are displayed about anything, that dynamics are high in it, and that life is good. If this person now feels he can solve all the problems of life, lick the world with one hand tied behind him, and feel a friend to all men, you have a clear. Okay. You're welcome, Aaron. Oh, crap. I gotta put my finger there. Okay, there it is. The only way you can go wrong is to compute with the idea that the human beings are full of error and evil and sin, and that if you have made a person less unhappy and above normal, he is to be judged a clear. This is a release. In gold panning, it is true that every tenderfoot mistakes iron pyrites, fool's gold, for gold. The tenderfoot will crow with delight over a bright bit of something in his pan, which actually is worth a few dollars a ton. And then he sees real gold. The moment he sees real gold in that pan, he knows what gold really looks like. It cannot be mistaken. Aside from the fact that psychometry would show a clear, phenomenally intelligent, would show his aptitude and versatility wide, there is another quality, the human quality of a freed man. You take a release through psychometry and show him to be above normal too. But a clear is a clear, and when you see it, you will know it, and with no further mistake. That a clear is no longer interested in his extinct engrams does not mean he is not interested in the troubles of others. That a person is not interested in his own engrams does not necessarily argue a clear, but may well be another mechanism, the apathy of neglect. To have engrams and neglect them is a common aberration with the reactive mind on a tone scale level of apathy. To have no engrams and neglect them is another thing. Every apathy case, neglecting his engrams as an answer to his woe, insisting he is happy, insisting as he racks himself to pieces that there is nothing wrong with him, will in work, particularly after basic is lifted, become interested in his engrams and more interested in life. It is easy to tell the apathy case from the clear, for the two are at opposite ends of the spectrum of life. The clear has soared up toward victory and triumph. The apathy case knows victory and triumph are not for him and explains they are not worth it. What the lifespan of a clear is cannot be answered now. Ask in 100 years. How can you tell a clear? How close does the man measure to optimum for man? Can he adjust in his environment smoothly? And far more important, can he adjust that environment to him? 60 days and again 6 months after a clear has apparently been effected, the auditor should again make a search for any neglected material. He should question the possible clear carefully as to the events of the past interval. In such a way, he can learn of any worries, concern, or illnesses which may have taken place and attempt to trace these to engrams. If he cannot then find engrams, the clear is definitely and without question cleared, and he will stay that way. If a case merely stalls, however, and while aberration seems to be present, engrams cannot be found, the cause probably lies with thoroughly masked despair charges, painful emotional engrams. There are not necessarily postnatal. They can be within the prenatal period and involve circumstances which are very secret, or so the engrams announce. Also, some cases have stalled and proven impenetrable because of a current or immediately past circumstance the patient has not revealed. These are two reasons which can delay a case. A, the person may be so aberratedly ashamed of his past or so certain of retribution if he reveals it that he does nothing but avoid. And B, the person may be in fear because of some existing circumstance or threat. The auditor is not interested in what the patient does or in what the patient has done. Dianetics treats of what has been done to the person exclusively in therapy. What has been done by a patient is of no concern. The auditor who would make it any concern is practicing something other than Dianetics. However, a patient, because of his engrams, may become obsessed with the idea that he must hide something in his life from the auditor. The two general classes above cover the general conditions. I'm curious, AA, later on I'll re-ask it, but you said that you did therapy through Scientology, not Dianetics. I'm curious if there's a big difference. Like, how much did he change from Dianetics to Scientology? Because they're still selling this book. So, it's... I'm interested why they're still selling this book if they're doing it differently in Scientology. Whew, where were we? The auditor should promise not to reveal any confidential matter, purely as a matter of routine, and explain the principle of done to and not done by. And no auditor would taunt or revile a patient for having been victimized by his engrams. As under B, there may exist some person, even the wife or husband, who has cowed the patient into secrecy. One case is at hand where no advance was made. Although there were many incidents contacted, the incidents would not reduce or erase no matter where they were. It was discovered that this case, a woman, had been beaten savagely and often by her husband, and that she had been threatened with death if she told the auditor a word of these acts. And yet these acts contained the whole despair charges of the case and had to be released. Seeing this, finally suspecting, the auditor was able to gain her confidence and locate the despair charges. Even if he had not gained her confidence, by constant restimulation of late life areas, he would have provoked her tears. In another case, that of a small child, Dubbin recall was so obvious and life factories were so busy that the auditor at last realized that he was attempting to penetrate not just the secrecy of an engram, but the secrecy imposed upon a child by someone at hand. The mother in this case, out of the idea that she would be apprehended, had furiously threatened the child to say nothing about his treatment at home. There was more than this behind the case. There were 81 attempted abortions, an incredible number. There's where we get a little overboard. A lot overboard. Yes, big difference. When we do our interview, we'll talk about that if you feel like it. This is where it goes. I don't know that anybody could survive 81 attempts to that, or the child. I just don't see it. I just don't. I mean, 9 months, 81 attempts. That's where it just gets a little absurd. The foreign language case. Oop, we're at the end. The foreign language case. Now and again, an auditor will encounter a strange sort of holdup in a case. He will be unable to get anything to clear or make sense in the prenatal area, and sometimes in childhood as well as the prenatal area, he may be encountering a foreign language case. Occasionally, the child did not know he was born to other parents who may have spoken a foreign tongue than those he has known as his parents. This is a special sort of mix-up of its own, which is rather easily resolved simply by running engrams. It is always possible for the patient to forget that his parents spoke some other tongue in the home. Another tongue than the one the patient is using, or other than that of the country in which the patient resides, is in one way an asset. It gives a prenatal area which is very difficult to restimulate, although it may still be acting upon the patient's mind. But it is no asset to the auditor, who must now deal with a patient who does not know the language, who may not have sonic recall, and yet has an engram bank full of data which once had meaning and really is his basic language. The best remedy for such a case is to get an auditor who knows both the language used in the prenatal area and the present tongue. Another remedy is to take a dictionary to the case and figure out the bouncers, et al. From the dictionary. Another way is to return the patient often enough into the infant period that he begins to pick up the language again, making the file drawer of it come forth, and then ask the patient for phrases which in the foreign tongue would mean this or that. Gradually, he may recover the language and so exhaust the bank. This is an extremely difficult case, only when there was no childhood use of the other tongue. Given childhood use of that tongue, the auditor simply keeps returning the patient to childhood when he knew the tongue and then return him. What? Hold on. Oh, no. I thought the computer was plugged in. Ow. There we go. No. Your battery is low. I'm like, I thought I was plugged in. Hi, Indigo. Hubbard, what are you saying? This doesn't make any sense. Some of it did there for a little bit. I think about that much compared to what we've already read. So we're almost done with this chapter. So gradually he may recover the language and so exhaust the bank. This is an extremely difficult case, only when there was no childhood use of the other tongue. Given childhood use of that tongue, the auditor simply keeps returning the patient to childhood when he knew the tongue and then returning him into the prenatal area. The patient can translate what is happening. The cliches of other tongues than that the auditor speaks are often quite productive of other literal meanings than comparable cliches in the auditor's tongue. This difference of cliche is a very responsible agent in the social aberrations of one nation as they differ from those of another. I have hot, says the Spaniard. I am hot, says the Englishman. And grammatically, they mean different things, even if they mean the same to the analyzer. Okay, that's the end of this chapter. We made it. The next chapter, Mechanism and Aspects of Therapy, Part 2. Let's see how long that is. Ooh. I don't know why he got so prolific here towards the end, but the chapters are longer. Oh my goodness. Ooh. I'm still going, guys. Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I can call this a chapter. It's like another book. Still going. Woo. Yeah, that's going to take us a few times. Oh my gosh. That's one chapter. But he does break them up to like, you have little headings here and there. But yeah, that's going to take us probably at least 3 Sundays. Holy moly. So I'll try to find that site where I found the book and we could read along together on the screen. I was in such a hurry to get on here, I forgot. And because I wasn't here last Sunday, I have the new computer. I need to go to the old computer and switch stuff over. I thought I did, but I think there's some things I'm missing. Oh, that sounds fun, having dinner. Let me look in my favorites to see if I did save it, because everything was supposed to come over. No, I don't see it there. Other favorites, other bookmarks, empty, synced bookmarks. There we go. Be one of the last things I bookmarked. Because Microsoft was supposed to connect and move everything. Holy crap, how many favorites do I have? I had that other computer a long time. Let's go to the bottom. I couldn't find it. I will find it again. I found it pretty easy last time. Ooh, I'm getting a little warm in here now. It is warm outside, y'all. Gosh. When I went outside with the dogs, I couldn't believe it. It's... It's 68 degrees in December. Oh, it's almost Christmas. This is ridiculous even for Texas. I've forgotten so much of Dianetics. Dianetics is a rough book. The others are definitely easier. Oh, that's cool, Indigo. But yeah, I can see. So when he moved into the Scientology, he made it easier. Well, that would make sense. He had a chance to improve on what he'd already written. Yeah, it is a bit rough. But maybe with Dianetics failing at first, he'd lost the reason he did Scientology, he lost the rights to Dianetics for a while in a lawsuit. Because when it failed after 3 months of being on the market, the people that invested or wrote off on the book, he even had a doctor or psychiatrist sign off on the book that it was great. They all turned on him, and the guy that invested sued him. Somehow he got the rights. And then I talked about it before, but I've forgotten the details by now. Eventually, LRH got the rights back. So what he did in the meantime is he started Scientology, and all the Dianetics centers turned into Scientology, I assume. And that's why he had to pivot. So maybe he had a chance to try to make it, look at what failed, why people didn't like it. Maybe he improved upon it. I would hope. I don't know. So I don't know if I ever want to read another book like this. I'm glad I have. It's really been an eye-opener. It's made me really understand him more, people that are in Scientology more, what, it really has helped. And having you ex-members in chat has then helped even further, because I'll have one idea about what I'm reading, and you tell me, what you experience, and I'm like, oh, okay. Because, I'm a never end. I'm trying to read it, and I understand it from a completely different point of view than somebody who went through it or was involved. And so that's what's been really helpful. Like there were times I had one idea about something, and then you explained it and it went a whole nother direction. I'm like, okay. And that's helped a lot. Had I just been reading this by myself or reading this with just other never ends, I don't know if I would have got that insight. Can't think of the words I want to say. But I wouldn't have got the same insight. So I still would have, I'm getting an idea of what we're reading and really understanding why people that are still in, want to believe what they're doing is important, and why they wouldn't consider leaving yet. So that's why when we went to Dallas, I didn't want to be rude or anything to the people in there. That's not what I wanted to accomplish. And I told my son that. He started to go off on the elevator because we had to go upstairs to where the kiosks are. And I said, shh, because you never know where there's cameras and mics. And I said, wait till we get outside. Because I didn't even want them to know that I was in there for a different reason. So they were really nice. I was really nice to them. I talked about, I have the Battlefield Earth book I read a long time ago. It's the only book I ever read. I never really got into any of his other books. So, oh, well, we did that in less than an hour and a half. I try not to go over an hour and a half. So I'm glad y'all came by. I'm going to get off here and go find some throat spray. And we will continue on with part 2 next week. That's going to take us a while. It's probably at least 3, maybe 4 Sundays. We'll see. But after that, I mean, that's a big chapter. I think after that, then it's Dianetics, past and future. And then, oh, we're done after that. So that chapter ends there. And then the book only has that much. So, like I said, that chapter is like the whole rest of this book. So, it's going to be long, but we'll figure it out. Happy holidays to y'all. Have a Merry Christmas if I don't see you again. I think I hadn't even thought about whether I was going to protest this week, because I went this last Thursday because my son had school that day. So I didn't realize the university was out for the holidays. It was so dead. But I do know that the Scientologists are still there. They're not celebrating. So I think I'm still going to go. I don't think I want to not go just because the students aren't there. Part of the reason I go is I want them to see that we're committed to coming and wonder why. So I think I'm still going to go. Let me look at the calendar. I'm not really doing anything for Christmas myself. The grandkids aren't here. I'm going to try to decorate, but we can't get the decorations out of the loft until my son gets here tomorrow. So tomorrow is Monday. Tuesday's Christmas Eve. Wednesday is Christmas. I'm definitely not going to go those days. So I'll probably try to go Thursday and Friday, or Friday. Yeah. All right. So I'm still going to try to go one of those days. Yeah, I saw Battlefield Earth 2, and like I said, I'm easily entertained. I liked it. It was an interesting premise. I liked the main human character. It's been a long time since I saw it. I haven't seen it twice. Didn't interest me enough to see it again. But I thought it was okay. I like sci-fi. I watch a lot of B movies because, being bedridden the years that I was, I watched a lot of stuff. I watched almost everything out there. So I had to go to B movies to find entertainment before I found YouTube. Now that takes up a lot of time. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it was a little bit longer than it should have been. It's like I said, it's been years since I watched it. So, but yeah. I think it could have been better. It definitely could have been better. Maybe. So I look at it as like a B minus movies, maybe C. But I still watch those. So it had good, like, I thought the aliens were kind of interesting looking with the big, huge shoes. They were supposed to be huge. That was kind of interesting. So, yeah. I'm going to go. I'll see y'all hopefully sometime this week. Y'all have a good Christmas. I probably won't see you before that. And that's it. Bye. I got to come up with an outro.